Imagine a simple glass jar filled with pond water and a few green strands of algae. You place a lid on it, sealing it tightly, and then set it on a sunlit windowsill. At first glance, it may seem like nothing more than murky water, but if you were to peer closer, you would discover an entire world teeming with activity. It is a miniature ecosystem, a private universe contained within the glass walls. This tiny, closed-off world is a fascinating experiment. It helps us to understand the very foundations of life itself. What happens inside when nothing new can get in and nothing old can get out? It is a question that reveals the remarkable resilience of nature. This sealed jar is what we call a closed aquatic world. The word closed is very important here. It means that the living things inside are completely cut off from the outside environment. No fresh air can enter, and no new food can be added. Everything the inhabitants need to survive must already be present within the jar, or be created by the life forms themselves. It is a self-contained system, a perfect, small-scale model of the grand cycles that govern life on our own planet. This isolation presents an enormous challenge for any living creature, yet it is in such places that we can witness the true ingenuity of life in its smallest forms. The idea of a world in a bottle is not just a curious thought experiment. People have been creating these ecospheres for many years. Some have been sealed for decades, and yet, life within them persists. The water may not look clear, and the inhabitants are too small to be seen with the naked eye, but they are there. They are living, breathing, and reproducing in a delicate balance. The sunlight that streams through the glass provides the energy that drives the entire system. It is the engine that powers this miniature planet, allowing a complex web of interactions to unfold in a space no larger than your hand. Looking at this simple jar, one begins to appreciate the complexity hidden in simplicity. It is a world of its own, with its own rules and its own story of survival. The same fundamental principles that allow rainforests to grow and oceans to thrive are at play right here, inside this humble container. It is a reminder that life in all its forms is interconnected. Each organism, no matter how small, plays a crucial role in the health of its environment. This sealed aquatic world is not just a curiosity, it is a window into the intricate dance of existence that happens all around us, every single day, often completely unseen. So, who are the inhabitants of this sealed water world? They are creatures we call microlife, or microbes. These are living organisms so tiny that you need a microscope to see them. They are the most abundant form of life on Earth, found in every corner of our planet. They live in the soil beneath our feet, in the air we breathe, and in every drop of water. When you scoop up water from a pond, you are capturing a bustling city of these microscopic beings. They are the true pioneers of our planet, having existed for billions of years, long before plants or animals appeared. There are many different kinds of microlife. Bacteria are perhaps the most famous. They are single-celled organisms that come in countless shapes and sizes, performing all sorts of jobs. Then there are algae, which are like tiny microscopic plants. You often see them as the green tinge in pond water. Like larger plants, they use sunlight to make their own food. We also find protozoa, such as the amoeba, which are like miniature animals. They move around, hunting and eating other, smaller microbes. And we cannot forget the fungi, like yeasts and molds, which act as nature's recyclers. These microbes are not just floating around aimlessly. They form a complex community, an invisible ecosystem. In our sealed jar, the algae are the producers. They capture the sun's energy and turn it into food through a process called photosynthesis. The protozoa are the consumers. They eat the algae and bacteria to get their energy, and the bacteria and fungi are the decomposers. When any of these organisms die, the decomposers break them down, returning essential nutrients to the water. These nutrients can then be used by the algae once more, starting the cycle all over again. It is this intricate web of relationships that allows life to continue in a closed environment. Each group of microbes depends on the others for its survival. Without the algae, there would be no food. Without the consumers, the algae might grow out of control. And without the decomposers, all the vital nutrients would remain locked away in dead organisms, and the entire system would eventually grind to a halt. This delicate balance is the secret to the long-term survival of the micro-world within the jar, a beautiful and efficient system of cooperation. For life to thrive in a sealed world, a few essential things are needed: energy, food, and the recycling of materials. The primary source of energy for our jar is sunlight. The light passes through the glass and is captured by the microscopic algae. Through photosynthesis, the algae use this light energy, along with carbon dioxide from the water, to create sugars. These sugars are their food, the fuel that allows them to grow and reproduce. In this process, the algae release a vital byproduct: oxygen. This oxygen dissolves into the water, becoming available for other microbes to breathe. This brings us to the consumers and decomposers, such as protozoa and bacteria. Many of these microbes need oxygen to survive, just as we do. They breathe in the oxygen that the algae have produced. They get their energy by eating the algae or by consuming other microbes. As they breathe or respire, they release carbon dioxide back into the water. This is a perfect partnership. The algae provide the oxygen and food that the other microbes need, and in return, the other microbes provide the carbon dioxide that the algae need for photosynthesis. It is a beautiful, self-sustaining loop. But what happens when these microbes die? In the outside world, dead things decompose and their nutrients are spread far and wide. Inside the sealed jar, nothing can be wasted. This is where the decomposers, the bacteria, and fungi do their most important work. They break down the dead bodies of algae and protozoa. This process releases all the essential building blocks of life, minerals and nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, back into the water. These raw materials are then ready to be absorbed by the living algae, allowing them to grow and create new life. This continuous cycle of production, consumption, and decomposition is what allows the miniature ecosystem to persist. It is a closed loop where everything is reused. The sun provides the power, but the materials for life are endlessly recycled by the inhabitants themselves. As long as the sun continues to shine, and this delicate balance between the different types of microbes is maintained, the tiny world inside the jar can continue to function. It is a testament to how efficient nature can be, ensuring that nothing goes to waste and that life can find a way to endure, even in the most isolated of places. Of course, life in a sealed jar is not without its challenges. The balance is delicate and can be easily disrupted. If the jar is placed in too much direct sunlight, it can overheat, which might be fatal for many of the microbes. The algae could also grow too quickly, using up all the nutrients and producing so much oxygen that it becomes toxic. This is known as a bloom. When this massive population of algae eventually dies off, the decomposers work overtime to break them down, using up all the oxygen in the water in the process. This can cause the entire system to crash as other microbes suffocate. On the other hand, if the jar does not receive enough light, the algae cannot produce enough food and oxygen. The system would slowly starve, and the oxygen levels would drop too low for the other microbes to survive. The population of all life within the jar would dwindle, and the water would become a graveyard. The survival of this tiny world depends entirely on finding that perfect equilibrium, that just right amount of light, and a stable balance between its producers, consumers, and decomposers. It is a constant, delicate dance on the edge of collapse. Yet microbes are masters of survival. Some bacteria, when faced with harsh conditions like a lack of food or oxygen, can enter a dormant state. They can form a tough, protective shell and essentially go to sleep, waiting for conditions to improve. They can remain in this state for years, even centuries, only to reawaken when the environment becomes favorable again. This incredible resilience is one of the reasons why microbial life is so successful and can be found in the most extreme environments on Earth, from volcanic vents deep in the ocean to frozen Antarctic lakes. By studying these sealed aquatic worlds, we learn invaluable lessons about our own planet. Earth, in many ways, is like a giant ecosphere floating in space. We have a finite amount of resources: air, water, and nutrients. The energy from our sun drives the ecosystems, and life depends on the recycling of these materials. These tiny jars show us, on a small and rapid scale, how ecosystems work, and what happens when they are thrown out of balance. They are a powerful reminder of the importance of every living thing, no matter how small, and of the delicate interconnectedness that sustains all life on our beautiful, fragile planet.